Greetings. I am Legacy Moon, and this is True Crime and Mysteries. Welcome back, current subscribers, new subscribers. Won't touch that subscriber button, and those of you who are here for the very first time. We are going to talk about some stuff today that is going to make you say, what the Fulton County? There are so many things going on in the state of Georgia with their police force. We've got women saying they won't hire black women because they run their mouth too much. We have some SA going on and some sexual harassment going on. We've got a whole a town where they have done fired the entire police force, all but one. And we also have someone who decided that they were going to file a lawsuit because they lost their job. So now let's get into it. I come from a military family, so I'm aware of, a lot of things. Military, I know some terminology and, I know how their medical works and all of that. I know that there are VA hospitals, but what I did not know was that Atlanta VA Medical Center has a whole police force. I never would have guessed that. A police force at a VA medical center? Well, at that medical center, the top 3 individuals in charge have been suspended. Now, they've been suspended for different reasons, but we're going to get into this lady right here. And the reason why she's first up is because she is the chief. Y'all, let me introduce you to Chief Beverly Banks. It is said that complaints are made and not addressed. Chief Banks, she has a toxic work environment. And as a matter of fact, there's a retired VA police officer that filed an EEOC complaint against Chief Beverly Johnson, alleging that she shared his personal information with supervisors. Apparently, she wasn't supposed to do that. Now, she has been the chief there for 5 years, so I can imagine how toxicity was just brewing if all of the things that people say about her is true. I mean, there were officers being suspended because they complained about things. Things had got so bad that in January 2024, she held a department-wide meeting, and she encouraged officers to get up, speak their mind, clear the air, do all of the things. And she also told them that she feels that she has been made to sound like she's a beast, and she's just the worst beast ever. And I'll read the quote. I can't talk today. She says, "I have been made to sound like I am a beast. I'm just the worst beast ever." But that's not the worst of it. Let me tell you, she had a staff meeting in September 2023. And at this meeting, she told the people, hey, I'm not hiring. I don't want these black women in here. I don't want these Hispanic women in here. There's no white women beating down my doors. Y'all black women, y'all complain too much and all of the things she said. Now, if you had noticed, she's black too, but that's what she said. Now, I know y'all probably say, Legacy Moon is making that up. That lady didn't say that. Well, she did say it, and I have the recording right here. Want to hear it? Here it go.
Command staff meeting, Chief Beverly Banks complained about disputes between her officers. One of them provided this recording to the Fox 5 team. A second person in the room confirmed what you're about to hear.
I am to the point, I don't want to hire black women no more. I'm to that point. I ain't got no white women beating my door down to come in here and work, but I wish they would, because I don't have these problems. I don't have no Hispanic women. Hell, I don't want them either. Because you know what comes with it? A whole lot of attitude, and I don't want it. I'm the only one with the attitude in this place, me.
In a statement to the Fox 5i team, a VA spokesman said, "There is no place for racism or discrimination at the VA, and these comments are unacceptable." Chief Banks took over the Atlanta VA Medical Center Police Department in late 2022, inheriting an organization filled with complaints involving favoritism and sexism.
I guess he thought, she's not going to tell, I got the power.
A year before Banks started, VA Internal Affairs examined the case of Shanika Jackson. She accused Deputy Chief Johnny McCullough of sexual assault.
I don't know what he was doing until ultimately when everything started to happen.
Jackson lost her job. McCullough remained deputy chief. And when Chief Banks took over the next year, she kept him there. It's unclear whether she knew about the IA findings. Last December, another black female officer filed this handwritten complaint with her supervisor, accusing McCullough of threatening to drag her down the hall by her hair. We don't know what happened with the complaint, but at a department-wide meeting the next month, the chief said this.
Deputy Chief McCullough, if you don't know how to talk to people, tell me now so I can do whatever I need to do to get you disciplined again.
David Bennett served in the VA Police Department for 5 years. The combat veteran quit last month, shortly after filing an EEOC complaint against Banks, accusing the chief of sharing confidential information about him with his supervisors.
That created a hostile, toxic work environment for me as an individual officer, and I didn't feel as comfortable working for the leadership as I did before.
I have been made to sound like I'm a beast. I'm just the worst beast ever.
In January of this year, Chief Banks held this department-wide meeting so her officers could clear the air.
We trying to change. Are y'all gonna try and change?
But on the recordings provided to the Fox 5i team from one of the participants, the air was filled mostly with the voice of the chief.
You all don't understand what you have in me, and I'm so sorry that y'all don't.
I don't understand how can you be a chief in leadership and you're saying one thing in January and then in this meeting you're saying something completely different.
I don't want to hire black women no more.
It's discrimination. That's not what the VA is all about.
The VA says Chief Banks and Deputy Chief McCullough remain suspended from all police duties. Major Darrell Gates was also originally suspended but has since been reinstated.
Next up, we have the Deputy Chief, Johnny McClure, and he's been suspended as well. And his thing is sexual harassment complaints, not complaint, complaints with an S. Needless to say, Chief Beverly Banks did nothing about these complaints. But one complaint in specific that happened in July 2022, a newly hired officer had made a complaint against the deputy chief, and it was an investigation done into her complaint. There were several witnesses interviewed, and it was repeated throughout the interview that Deputy Chief McClure had a romantic interest in this lady. He admitted that he gave money to this lady, text her outside of work hours, and he claims it was because he just wanted to help her because she was a single mother. The investigators did not find his statement to be credible. Now, the conclusion of this investigation described the deputy chief as vindictive, condescending, toxic, and he had a reputation of being a womanizer. However, he still had his job. 2 years later, and he still had his job up until he was suspended in June of 2024. Now, let's listen to this victim's story.
3 of the top cops at the Atlanta VA Medical Center are suspended from police duty with pay amid allegations of unacceptable behavior.
The VA cited multiple complaints, including one involving graphic details of an alleged sexual assault by the deputy police chief. Yet Fox 5 I-Team reporter Randy Travis says for years that deputy chief stayed on the job until now. Randy?
That's right, Courtney and Russ. The police department, the VA, provides law enforcement and security services at the main hospital in Decatur and several other VA clinics in metro Atlanta. They also use a private security company to carry some of the load. Shanika Jackson once worked for both. How soon after you got the job did you start having some issues with the deputy chief?
I noticed he was overly friendly with me. He would be standing behind me a lot, and I'm like, why is he always in here? Doesn't he have anything else to do?
A single mom and retired Air Force military police officer, Shanika Jackson applied to join the Atlanta VA Police Department in 2021. But after working months in dispatch, waiting for a slot to open for mandatory police academy training, she said she had to resign because the pandemic kept delaying the start of the class. According to the EEOC complaint she would eventually file, Jackson said Deputy Police Chief Johnny McCullough offered to help her get a job with the private security company at the Atlanta VA. An offer she says in her complaint she was unaware came with some sexual strings attached.
I just remember one day he asked me to come into his office. He just told me, like, I told you it would cost you.
According to that complaint, the deputy chief exposed himself and encouraged Jackson to take part in a sexual act.
I'm like, whoa, 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 like this is not something I'm gonna do. But I got out of his office so quick. I remember seeing him adjust his pants back, and I got out of there and I started crying hysterically.
Two friends confirmed to EEOC investigators that Jackson confided in them shortly after the incident. But Jackson said she did not file an official complaint immediately.
I was fearful at the time because he had a lot of power.
But then came a misdirected text in January 2022. Thinking she was texting a friend, Jackson says she accidentally sent this to McCullough. Snakes only get so far. In her complaint, she says McCullough went to her boss and asked that she be fired.
I told him, like, hey, this man has been harassing me for the longest, and y'all are trying to fire me for him.
She was ultimately demoted and transferred. When she failed to show up for work, the private security company fired her. They denied McCullough played any role in the decision. Only after she was fired in April 2022 did Jackson file her complaint with the EEOC. And when McCullough met with EEOC investigators, he denied every one of Jackson's claims. So she said it happened. He said it did not. Jackson's EEOC complaint was dismissed before either had a chance to prove they were telling the truth. She's filed an appeal. But there's a third angle to this she said, he said story. It's what the VA Internal Affairs investigation said. In July 2022, the VA's Office of Senior Security Officer conducted its own investigation into Jackson's claims. The Fox 5 I-Team obtained this copy through the Freedom of Information Act. After interviewing multiple witnesses, it was repeated throughout interviews that McCullough had a romantic interest in Jackson. The report said McCullough admitted to special agents that he gave Jackson money, texted her outside of working hours because he wanted to help Jackson as a single parent, a statement investigators find not credible. And as far as Jackson's allegation of McCullough exposing himself, staff described him as vindictive, condescending, toxic, and as having a reputation as a womanizer. Investigators did draw certain conclusions that would support Jackson's reports as being accurate and truthful. So you must have been pretty pleased to see this report.
Absolutely.
Did you expect that this would result in him being removed from his job?
I did.
He was not. We shot this video a few months ago of McCullough at a firearms training course with Police Chief Beverly Banks. The VA suspended Chief Banks, Deputy Chief McCullough, and a third person due to employee complaints and allegations of unacceptable behavior, including allegations of sexual assault and harassment. We are treating these allegations with the utmost seriousness and are moving aggressively to investigate them, and will take swift and appropriate action. Reached by phone, McCullough said he had no comment. Chief Banks did not respond to our questions. The VA has already appointed an acting chief and an acting deputy chief, and they say that they're sending a national team, including the senior security officer, to make recommendations for the 3 who are currently suspended with pay.
Wow, yeah, there's a really disturbing allegations, and she was fired back in 2022. But the VA is saying that they're taking this seriously. Did they explain why they didn't take action 2 years ago?
That was our first question a couple of weeks ago, Courtney, is, was Deputy Chief McCullough disciplined at all 2 years ago after that internal affairs report came out that raised questions about his credibility? We never got an answer to that question. Instead, we got a statement saying that he was suspended now and that they've launched an investigation. Another one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, and as you say, she's appealing that EEOC complaint that was rejected.
Yeah, not sure where that stands right now. She appealed it last fall.
All right, very good.
The third officer suspended was Major Daryl Gates. However, he has since been reinstated to his duties. And I also want to say that these suspensions are with pay. So these people are suspended, but they're still getting paid. However, like I said, Major Daryl Gates has been reinstated. Now we are going to get in our vehicles and we are going to travel over there to Warm Springs, Georgia. Now let me tell you what's going on there. The police chief, Emilio Quintana, was fired. Okay, and they appointed Aisha Al-Khalifa as the interim chief, while things are going on. But that's not all. Not 1, not 5, not 10, but 14 employees have been put on suspension. And 12 of those are police officers. Now, while they are on suspension, they are going to get their pay and all of their benefits. However, part-time and reserve officers are suspended without pay and benefits. Here's the thing. We don't know why. It has not been discussed why these employees have been relieved of their duties or, I should say suspended. We don't know why. But, and they are afraid to speak out because, they think if they speak out, it's going to hurt their jobs. And the interim chief has made a statement that reads, and I'm going to quote, "Our primary commitment is to the safety and well-being of the community. We take these matters very seriously and we conduct a thorough investigation to address any issues within our police department. We ask for community patience and support as we work towards transparency and justice." So I guess you're probably wondering, well, what they're going to do? There's no police force. Well, people from other police forces are going to kind of take over for now. And the Georgia Bureau of Investigations have not been called in to investigate whatever is being investigated. So, and that is in Warm Springs, Georgia.
Morning, a Metro Atlanta police force is down to just 1 officer on duty after the chief was fired and 11 officers were suspended. This is happening in Warm Springs in Meriwether County. The mayor citing recent events and emerging concerns over conduct and operations within the police department for the firing and suspensions. Neighboring agencies will be covering the town in case of any emergencies. With public safety top of mind, we spoke to an attorney who says that this could bring a dark cloud over the department's pending cases.
That's concerning. You have not only a Warm Springs Municipal Court that's going to be involved for all the traffic citations, but these 11 officers and the chief of police may be involved in state and superior court cases. What is this all about? Is it going to affect these cases by the mere fact of the credibility of the officers and the integrity of that department?
We are digging to find out what sparked this major shakeup. The city has not taken any questions, and as of this morning, the GBI has not been requested to investigate.
Here we have former police officer in Warm Springs, Georgia, Sean Thompson, and he has filed a lawsuit against the police chief because he feels like he was fired simply for speaking up about some things, unfair treatment and whatnot. But I'm going to let him tell you instead of me.
Where the county, days before a local police chief was fired and 11 other officers were suspended in the town of Warm Springs, a civil lawsuit was filed. The officer who filed that civil lawsuit against the city, the former chief and command staff, is now speaking out. During his 8 months with the department, former Warm Springs police officer Sean Thompson believes he was retaliated against and fired for allegedly being insubordinate.
I felt like I was totally ignored. I felt like, there was some wrongdoings within the department itself, and I just wanted that to be on blast. It was nothing that I felt like I personally was trying to get off, like I had a bad issue with anyone. I just wanted my voice to be heard, and I was wrongfully mistreated.
So now the whole department is under investigation. Thompson says at the end of the day, he just wants the truth to come out.
Now let's do some honorable mentions, if you will. Journey with me to New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. Let's go there and talk about the 5 workers at the Westchester County Jail that were relieved of their duties for a bribery scheme. These employees, they were over there taking some big time money, according to reports, to sneak contraband into the inmates. These employees, they weren't fired on hearsay or anything like that. Investigations were done. They've got hours of visiting room surveillance and footage and phone calls and texts that, were examined and concluded. Not only were they fired, they're being charged. Now, one of the employees that have been fired, her name is Sadari Hold. And let me tell you about Sadari. On June the 2nd, 2022, an inmate was on the phone with one of his family, and he said, "Tell Lil Cuzzo I'ma push her an extra $150 on top of what I just did for this next one." The friend on the line with the inmate said, "All right, so I'm about to give her right now. I'm about to give it to her right now. I'm going to call her and let her know." And according to the prosecutors, on that same very day, she received a $150 wire transfer. Did I say she was a commissary worker? In case I didn't, she worked in the commissary. Between December 2021 and April 2022, she collected a total of $1,500 from inmates to sneak in contraband. There was another commissary worker, 35-year-old Sade Moore, was charged with collecting $500 to sneak in contraband in December of 2023. Then we have a police officer, a correctional officer by the name of Peter Cumberbatch. He's 39 years old, and he is being accused of collecting $800 in March 2023 to sneak in banned items. Then we have 32-year-old Shakia Smite, and she's being charged with more than $500 in bribes between June and August 2022. And then we have the 5th correctional officer, Wilfredo Gonzaque, 36 years old, and he took more than $2,000 in payoffs between September 2022 and February 2023. He was fired on February the 7th, 2023. The other two, of course, everybody's being fired. But the other two officers are, I guess, being processed out, and it takes time, but basically they're fired and charged as well. And by the way, they're not eligible for bail. Since we are in New York, we are going to go ahead and get in our vehicles and drive to Brooklyn, where they have the Crossroads Juvenile facility. We've got 5 employees over there that have been, of course, relieved of their duty and charged with smuggling contraband in exchange for bribes. Now, these employees over there, they work for the New York City Administration for Children's Services. Now, for the rest of this story, I'm going to refer to them as ACS because that's just too much to say. I'm going to get into what these people were doing. Well, actually, first of all, there are approximately 120 residents there from ages 14 to 20. And we all know that they are prohibited from possessing narcotics, cell phones, cigarettes, weapons, alcohols, among other things. And I don't know what those other things could be. I mean, what more do they need? Here's one example. Between March 2022 and May 2024, at least 75 cell phones and more than 340 scalpels or blades were recovered from the facility, as well as narcotics and cigarettes. Now let's get into these ACS workers. We have Devontae Bolton, and he has been an employee there since 2020. And it is alleged that he accepted more than $20,000. That's what the reports say. $20,000 from these juveniles at Crossroads in order to in order to smuggle in razor blades and some Mary Jane in exchange for bribes. Then we have Roger Francis. He's been employed with ACS since 2018, and it's alleged that he received more than $17,000 in bribes from the Crossroads juveniles for smuggling in contraband, which include some Mary Jane and some cell phones. We've got Christopher Craig, who has been employed with ACS since August 2018, and it is alleged that Christopher Craig received more than $5,000 in bribes to smuggle in contraband, including some Mary Jane and some cigarettes. Nigel King, who had been an employee since 2021, is alleged to have accepted more than $6,800 in bribes for smuggling in some Mary Jane, some prescription pills, and some alcohol. Then, of course, unfortunately, I don't even know what to say, but we have a female, Octavia Napier, and she had been employed with ACS from June 2022 to May 2023. And it is alleged that she received more than $2,000 in bribes to smuggle in contraband and allow a Crossroads resident to use her Cash App account to run his contraband distribution business from within the Crossroads Juvenile facility. I mean, I'm sorry, it's a woman, and that just shocks me. Because women, we're nurturers, and you're already there, with these juveniles who are troubled. I would just think that instinct would kind of kick in more than the enterprising instinct. Now, of course, as we say, all are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But the whole idea that investigations were done and people, there's proof. And these were juvenile facilities. I mean, it's a shame because when they go in there as juveniles, there is a chance that they could be rehabilitated. And you've got the staff running around in there, with their own little schemes and enterprises going on. And I think that that's a shame. But that's what is going on in New York. Criminal justice system. I'm going to have to assume, well, no, I'm not going to assume. I know a lot of the activity with contraband and pharmaceuticals and stuff like that going on in the adult jail system. I know that it's all gang related. You've got the different gangs that have the different things. And, some of them might be just individuals, but basically that enterprise is gang related within the institution. And then for these guards to fall into that is just amazing to me. And in the juvenile system, I guess that could be gang related too, but what kind of pull does a juvenile have as a gang member that they have all these thousands of dollars to pay for contraband? I mean, it is amazing. And then you've got police chiefs who don't want to hire black women and Hispanic women. They run their mouth too much. You've got these men up here sexually harassing the other lower officers. I mean, and then you've got a whole police force fired and you don't even know why. Oh, I'm sorry, suspended. But anyway, that's it. That is all, and that is enough. I thank you for listening. And once again, I am Legacy Moon. And if you are not subscribed to this channel, child, what are you waiting for? Go on up there, hit that subscribe button, and tap the notification bell so that you know the next time I drop a new video. And make sure you share this. Tell a friend, tell a foe, tell everybody. Let them know Legacy Moon is on YouTube. And finally, you know what I do? I always ask you, please make sure you thumbs up the video because I want to be in the algorithm nation.